Welcome to Lipstick, Laughs and Leadership, the podcast where we talk real leadership without the corporate BS.
We're Jodie and Emma, and this is a space for honest, human conversations about confidence, influence, well-being, and what it really takes to lead in today's world.
This podcast is for women who are capable, ambitious and thoughtful, but who might sometimes feel tired, stretched, or quietly question whether there's another way to do leadership.
There's no jargon here, no rigid rules, and certainly no pretending. Just lived experience, straight talk, laughter, and leadership that actually feels good on the inside.
So grab a cuppa, get yourself comfortable,
and welcome to the sofa.
Welcome back to Lipstick, Laughs and Leadership. Emma and I are on the sofa once again, and we're here this week for episode 7. This week's topic is going to be all around the 12-week year, not a 52-week year, a 12-week year. And this is a concept that Emma introduced me to last year sometime. Emma's been doing it for years.
About 5 years now.
About 5 years. And I've just jumped on the bandwagon for 2026. I'm loving the process. So we thought, actually, so many other women would benefit from knowing a bit more about this. So I thought we'd talk about it, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think, like Joe said, something I've been following about 5 years because I read a book. There is a book called The 12-Week Year. And now I'm trying to think of the author's name. I think it's Brian P. Moran. If I got that right, I'm going to be impressed. So it's a book. Actually, the front cover of the book is probably a good place to start because it says on the front cover that you can achieve more in 12 weeks than most people do in 12 months by following this process. So, if that's not something that stands out on the shelf, and like Joe said, it's not a 52-week year. It's looking at it as a 12-week year. At the beginning of the book, again, another good place I think to continue with it is it shares that some research talks about in a lot of organizations there was kind of I think organizations have got better now, but we used to have this annualized way of thinking. So and some organizations still do. That is where we kind of set people some objectives, some goals. Maybe your financial year goes January to December, and I've still come across a lot of organisations that are giving those objectives in March or
every organisation I go in, have still not sorted their objectives at this point in the year.
It's like, hang on a minute, quarter of the year's gone. What have you been doing?
My eye, if you're watching this, we're recording this on the 31st of January, not January, 31st of March.
Yeah.
So it's bang on at the end of quarter one.
Yeah. That's why we thought it'd be a great opportunity to record this today, because this podcast will be coming out in a couple of days. So we'll talk about the fact that we're actually in our 13th week at the moment. So I'll come on to that later. But yeah, this annualized way of thinking, people have their objectives, maybe not right at the beginning of the year. And we get lazy. The amount of one-to-one documents I've seen where it's got your objective and in the column where it says when to achieve it by, it says by the end of the year, rather than actually thinking, how long is it going to take you? So what you tend to find then, because we haven't got a great concept of time, is people drag their feet.
Yeah. Before you know it, weeks and months have gone by, haven't they?
Yeah. And, we don't have that great concept and we say, oh, I've got ages to achieve it. So, let's say it's January. We think, oh, yeah, I've got 12 months to achieve this goal. And so people just come out of their reviews and drag their feet a little bit and think, oh yeah, I've got, plenty of time. And we do it in our personal lives. You might set some, New Year's resolutions. Think, I've got a holiday in June, I want to lose a stone. Yeah, but then you get into work, first week back into work after Christmas, and someone offers you this skit and think, my holidays not till June. I don't want to look great in that bikini until June. So I'll just have a bit skip. And then before we know it, it's the end of May and we're living on dust because we've actually probably put on a couple of pounds rather than lost it. And this is very much
a bad goal to have. Don't have a goal around weight. Live by biscuit rule.
From a health point of view.
You're fit and healthy and strong.
Exactly. So yeah, we do it all the time and we think, oh, I've got such a long time. And like you said, before you know it, it's got to that end point and you think, actually, they've either gone backwards rather than going forwards. And when we have an annualized way of thinking, it's almost like I always refer to it like getting into a car, to drive 5,000 miles somewhere you've never been before, and you put the sat nav on, but you turn the volume down, you turn the screen off, and then just start driving. And you end up going down lots of different roads, all these country roads. It all looks nice down here. And kind of the analogy of that is you taking on maybe extra projects at work and going, oh yeah, that sounds good. I'll get involved in that. Or doing things that you like to do rather than actually things that are aligned to your goal. And then it's like getting to December or getting where you think you're going to be around the corner from where you know, these 5,000 miles, and then think, oh, now I best turn the volume up and put the screen back on. And then you're miles away from where you should. Yeah. Because you've only checked it last minute. And that's the process of, if we're only checking then in December how we've got on for the year, we're miles away from our objectives.
I've been a bugger for thinking, oh, I've got ages.
Yeah.
I've done it with lots and lots of things.
Me too.
And then it gets me into hot water or just really stressful. And then ultimately not really achieving as much as I could have done. And then I think, oh, well, that didn't work out. I don't look at myself really. I think, oh, that must have been a stupid goal. Maybe it was a bit lofty or ambitious. And really should have not annualized it.
Yeah. And I think also it makes you feel less overwhelmed, doesn't it, when we're breaking it down?
Yeah. And 12 weeks goes quick.
It does. I mean, these 3 months of this year have gone fast so far. But so the idea is that rather than having this annualized way of thinking, and then businesses, by the way, some of them went, okay, yeah, 12 months is quite a long time. Let's break it into half. We'll do a mid-year review. 6 months is still a long time to be going off track. So what the 12-week process does is basically breaks it down into 12-week bite-sized chunks. So what you do is you can plan some objectives for December, but there may be more loose objectives, and you just set maybe the smart bit around what you want to achieve. But then I'm doing my crosses because this is how I normally do it on the flip chart. So you forget about the last quarter, you forget about the third quarter, you forget about the second quarter. And what you do is create your action plan with a calendar in front of you to just look at what actions do I actually need to do in the next 12 weeks. So that's working out the how part. So, if you've heard of Simon Sinek start with a why before, he always talks about starting with the why. Then obviously you've got the what, which is in the outer circle, which is great smart objectives gives you. But if we don't remember the middle circle, which is the how, people walk away from their objectives or their one-to-ones and go, well, I know what I need to do, but I'm not sure how and where to start. And so this is what your action plan does. It's the granular detail of the small steps you've got to take to get to that big goal.
And I think that's what gave me absolute clarity. Whereas before it was all a bit murky and it was quite overwhelming. Even if you think about having, let's just take something dead simple. Let's say it's a revenue or a sales target, whether you run your own business or you're a budget holder within an organisation, or say you're a sales team, you're trying to hit a revenue figure to bring in. So if you think, I don't know, it's £1 million for the year, that's a bit overwhelming at that stage, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas if you've broken it down into 4 quarters, and that doesn't necessarily mean 250k a quarter.
You might know that some quarters you do better than others.
Yeah, Q3 might be a mega quarter for you, or where you gain momentum, or where most of your deals convert. But Q1 might be a lead generation or a brand awareness, which has actually, ironically, been the case for us, hasn't it?
Yeah,
when we've been planning. Yeah. We've spent the first quarter of this year super focused on building some brand awareness and visibility.
Yeah.
Hence why you're listening or watching this podcast.
Yes.
That's
one of our goals. Absolutely. Yeah, you've got to kind of take it bit by bit. It's like, I was working with an organisation, for the last couple of weeks, but yesterday they presented their 12-week plans to me and to each other on a virtual call. And, their next 12 weeks, because their organisation has kind of launched a new product, so to speak, without going into detail. And so what we've talked about is actually month 1 needs to be raise some awareness with your customers that you now offer that product.
Yeah.
So it's all about, and it's not to say that you're not going to get any sales in that first quarter, but it might go a bit slower, but you're raising that awareness. So what kind of things are you looking at doing from a marketing point of view? Then month 2, it's about how you start to maybe offer free trials and build relationships. And then when we looked at month 3, it's then those people you've given the trials to or built the relationships with, how do you then work on that repeat business?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way that they've broken that down. But they've already got that customer base there, but it's just getting them used to a new product that they sell. So it's just about, you might feel that actually you're working a bit slower when you work it down or break it down like that. But actually what you'll find is you end up achieving more.
Yeah.
And rather than, like I said, just kind of not creating an action plan for 3 months, before you know it, it's like, oh, we're at the end of the first quarter. We've not really achieved anything.
So if we're honest,
Yeah.
you know, we sat down in January, didn't we, and mapped our first quarter out, our first 12 weeks out.
Yeah.
You know, and we haven't done everything that we put on the action plan, you know, and think that being human and honest about it, we haven't executed on everything that's on that plan.
No.
But I tell you what, I've executed far more than I would have done without the plan.
Yeah.
And actually, because, I mean, we'll talk about this 13th week in a minute.
Yeah.
But when we look back, because that's our job this afternoon, to sit and do our strategy planning and our review of this quarter, is it will really show us just how much we have done that we wouldn't have done if had we not have sat down and mapped out a 12-week year.
Absolutely.
The other thing that really stands out for me is as well is when we did that 12-week mapping, just how, what's the word? Because we were planning things week by week and day by day and looking at the time we had available. I was just being way too ambitious with how much I thought I could get done in the time I had available.
Yeah.
When we started literally mapping out days of activity, before you know it, you've used up all your time.
Yeah.
You're like, right, well, now that's realistic.
That's it.
That's the word I was looking for. Unrealistic.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It always comes back to you, doesn't it?
Yes.
But yeah, and that's the thing is, you know, we do this day to day with our to-do list. And then you feel like a failure when you get to the end of the whether it's 12 weeks or at the end of the day or the end of a week, when you've put a list together and you think, I've not achieved everything. But actually the only thing that you failed at is being over ambitious and putting too much on the list. So yeah, it does help you to be more realistic when you, because, you know, I'm old school as well. I think you liked and benefited from this when we did it in December, is actually printing off the calendar for 12 weeks. You actually can see the days in front of you. You know, we got our highlighter pens out, didn't we? And we started highlighting when have we got work already booked into the diary? You know, where are some of our gaps? And then started to map out other things like this 13th week. So Joe's just mentioned the 13th week because, you know, if you're good at maths, you'll know 12 times 4 equates to 48, not 52. And so with this process, you kind of every quarter you're working on a cycle of plan, do, review. So you plan for 12 weeks, you then go all in and do it, and you laser focus because you know exactly what it is that you're working towards. And then in the 30th, so at the end of every 12th week, you have a 13th week. And that's when you do the reviewing, the tracking. What have I achieved? Have I maybe not achieved? And, you know, like Jodie said, even when you work to this methodology, it doesn't mean that you're going to absolutely achieve everything because life happens. 12 weeks is still a long time. But what the process allows you to do is rather than, you know, if you're just looking at a straight line going from A to B, which is like, say, January to December, we know that life isn't a straight line. And so if you don't do the 12-week year, you're going to end up veering so much off that straight line that you end up miles away, like I said before. Whereas what this process allows you to do is veer off a little bit. You've got to have some flexibility. You know, things have happened quicker in my life these last 12 weeks, which I'll come on to, that I didn't plan and talk about in December. But it allows you to go off track a little bit. But what the 13th week does is brings you back on track.
Yeah.
And so your year might look a little bit like that instead, but you end up nearer to what you'd set out to do rather than miles away from it.
Way off track.
Yeah. So what were some of those other things that we put into the 12-week planning with our highlighter pens?
I remember, so there was one particular type of day that we'd plan in every month. This was so ironic.
I know what you could
piss myself laughing when this happened. So Emma and I spent the whole day together. This particular day is a well-being day. right? So I was like, it's really important that one day a month is a well-being day.
Yeah.
So we sat and we plotted them all out, hadn't we?
Yeah.
And I'd highlight them in a specific colour and I'd put the initials WB. Was it? Yeah, WB for well-being,
right.
in the box for that day. Anyway, we goes home. Week or so later, we were talking about something else. We were trying to check each other's availability for something, weren't we?
Voice noting on WhatsApp.
Yeah, and I said, "Oh, I've got these things on me chart. UB days, I can't just like remember what they're for." She was like, "They're the most important days, Jodie. They're your well-being days." I was like, "Oh, fuck, how ironic, well-being days." But do you know what? Out of everything, those are the days that I have actually 100% stuck to.
Right, yeah.
And they've made the world of difference. You know, even this month, I took my well-being day the day before my birthday. I deliberately planned it that way. Way back in January, I decided that I was going to go to the Lake District and I was going to go swimming in Wasdale Emerald Pool that I've had on my wish list probably for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I was praying the whole quarter that the weather was going to be good. And lo and behold, it delivered. It was just the most stunning day.
It did.
I had no one to go with, so I made my husband booked out work and dragged him with me. He's like not interested in swimming. He just sat on the side and ate his ham sandwich.
Did you?
and held the dog while the dog was crying because I was in the pool. Yeah. Do you know what? They were a game changer for me. So plan a well, and you can do whatever you like with it, right?
Yeah. So important, isn't it, though, to just say, and by the way, and this is our wellbeing days aren't put in on a Saturday or a Sunday because you have your weekend. This is a weekday. So important. And yeah, you can do whatever you want with them. And it's just something for you. You know, I just had one this Friday and I planned it out beautifully. I did, there was a journaling work, and it was local to me. And it was, you know, I journal anyway, but it was about learning some new techniques. This one called Anna Wallace Croft, some new journaling techniques. The theme was about new beginnings, obviously going into spring. And I've got my own new beginnings, which I'll talk about. So I thought perfect timing, and I do want to journal more in this going into this next quarter. So I thought, brilliant, well, I'll do that. So I booked that, and then I thought, oh, I've still got a voucher for a beauty salon that my friends got me for my birthday, again in Nantwich where I live. So I thought, brilliant, well, I can spend that on that day as well. So I booked that for the journaling workshop was like 9:30, and I purposely didn't want to feel like I was rushing from one thing to another.
Yeah.
So I booked that for 2:30 in the afternoon. And then I thought I need my nails doing. So I thought I'll have my nails done as well. So it started to build to be like this really nice day. And my beauty salon, you can just basically nip in and you don't have to book an appointment. So I thought, well, I'll do the journaling workshop, go and have my nails done. And I'll probably have a couple of hours in between, which I did. So I went to Café de Paris in Nantwich.
Because you was French.
I feel silly saying Paris in an English accent. Prefer to say Café de Paris. Sounds better. So that was literally, it's across from where this beauty salon is. So I thought I'll go there and I'll have some lunch. And I had a really nice croque monsieur orangina, which brings me back to my childhood days in France. So sat and literally I was in there for 2 hours. So I had a coffee after and just really chilled out, and then went for my spa. And then Mark was walked into town with Hugo, a dog, and he was in one of the pubs, so I met him there. So it just felt like such a nice day where I felt like I squeezed quite a lot in, but I'd not felt like I was rushing from one thing to another. So yeah, it doesn't, and I love a spa day, like actually going to a spa, but that for me always used to feel like, oh, that's what I need to be doing on a wellbeing day. But it was just really nice on Friday just to have those few things.
A little bit more low key.
Yeah. And a bit of a mixture of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it could be whatever you want, really.
Yeah. One of them, I just literally planned nothing.
Yeah.
I just kind of potted around the house and watered my plants.
But isn't it nice sometimes you just have those days?
The dead heads off me high.
But mindfully doing it.
Yeah.
Not thinking, oh, I've got to go and do the plants.
Yeah. And, you know, I made a chicken and avocado sandwich and it was really nice. I was consciously eating it, not trying to do so much shoveling, inhaling in this bloody sandwich.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be like extravagant or
No.
whatever, but it could be a duvet day. It can be just pottering around, or maybe go for a mindfulness walk if the weather's nice or
Yeah.
whatever. Just, whatever you fancy, really. So yes, we finally planned that in when we remembered what the WB. I just remember my tone on the voice. Joe's, that's the most important day. I can't believe you can't remember what WB stands for. So yeah, so what else do we put? We've got a social media planning day. I'm going to say I probably haven't stuck to that as much as what I should have done.
Same. Although I've been conscious of it and I've done well more social media.
Yeah, definitely done more. Yeah.
Like, I've grown my accounts a bit more.
Right. Yeah.
If I look at my insights, I've definitely had a lot more views
That's good.
on a lot of my content. So whilst I didn't necessarily sit down for that day and plan and schedule it for the whole month, I've definitely done a lot more.
Yeah. And sometimes you've got to be a little bit, be kind to yourself and be lenient, because what I was just thinking there is, I haven't done some of my social media day. I did very well in January, and then I feel like February, personal life just took over.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you've got to think, when on this day, when we're doing our strategy day this afternoon, it's about going, okay, well, I didn't achieve that, but I actually did this instead because this happened. So, you've got to be kind to yourself when you do that review day as well. So, I knew when we got together in December that I wanted to do something this year towards my lifestyle. I think I've been talking for a while about selling my house and maybe getting a van or a motorhome and then buying a base in France and things like that. And anyway, long story short, it turns out that we decided to just go for it without a base and sell the house and get a motorhome. And so we decided this, it was like early February. So this wasn't necessarily put into my 12-week plan because, and actually it's probably made me think that going forward, I probably need to involve Mark a little bit more with my 12-week plan, because he didn't spring this on me. We just happened to be conversations we had, and we just went, well, actually, and we were going to wait until probably now, actually, springtime, to put the house on the market. And we just ended up saying, right, well, let's start doing some things around the house to get it ready to sell, like, look at paper here or there. But then we just got a real spurt on with it. And then we were like, well, why wait? Let's just get the house on the market now. And so it's all happened very fast because the house sold within a week.
It wasn't it? It was only about 4 days.
Yeah. And so, we only had 5 viewings. We had, I think, a couple of offers, and we accepted one. And so now we're going through that process, waiting obviously for the solicitors and everything. We'll probably complete, I'd say, well, what are we now? End of March. Probably, I would say definitely by the end of May.
Yeah, we'd be done.
Happy. I'm probably going to go middle of May, something like that, because how long the paperwork takes. Obviously, we haven't got a chain. The person that's buying hasn't got a chain, so that's a bonus. And so, yeah, it's just all, my next 12 weeks are going to look very different because, it's going to be getting used to this new lifestyle of got to find a motorhome to start with, and then just packing everything. That's taken over a little bit. So, I'm okay with the fact that some of the goals I set out to achieve, maybe I've not been so hot on the social media these last couple of months. I've not lost the weight that I wanted to, but this is where now I've veered off a little bit. And today I can think about how do I want to get back on track with some of those things, but not be overly ambitious, like you've said, knowing that I'm going to be packing and changing my whole life over the next 12 weeks.
But equally, you probably wouldn't have ended up selling the house and pulling those plans forward if you weren't in this general process.
Yeah.
It's like a rhythm, like you've been in it for a while. Like I'm still in the early stages of it, but you've been in it for a while. So maybe even some of the things that have been seeds in the back of your mind that, probably been on the annual end of plans.
Yeah.
And now coming into this cycle. And so you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's important to mention as well, because I think what you find is the more you work to the 12-week year, actually, like today was 31st of March and you planned for April, May and June.
Yeah.
But actually probably more so from a work perspective, because of how far in advance my diary gets booked in, my April, May, June is almost done and decided.
Yeah.
And so actually my mind starts to go forward a little bit to July, August, September. So you almost end up being a quarter ahead.
But you're still planning on a 12-weekly cycle.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So, there may be some things that I'm thinking about in these next immediate 12 weeks that I need to plan. But there are some things that I'm thinking, well, what does then that third quarter look like in the year?
Which, I think is absolutely fine. It's the fact that you're breaking things down.
Yeah.
Isn't it? That's what's involved. It's not really about which set of 12 weeks they're in. It's more that you are thinking about your life in 12, 13-week chunks, really, isn't it? And like you say, it's this 13th week feels like it's the most crucial week every quarter, because this is the point at where you kind of pause, look in the rearview mirror, evaluate what you've done, what you've not done, what changed. Give yourself a little pat on the back.
Yeah.
Kick up the bum if you need one. And then, you're not locked. Sometimes I think people set goals for 12 months and then they're locked on this. So when life starts to change, you're like, what do we do with this now?
Yeah.
Whereas this way, you've got so much more flexibility. I just find it keeps me motivated a bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. And bringing it to the workplace as well, what you're just saying there around things change at work, don't they?
Yeah.
Projects come on, you get asked to work on new things. And so, going back to what I said about the annualized way of thinking, your manager gets to December, goes, by the way, those objectives, they're partially met. And you're like, what objectives? We spoke about this since January. And you're like, the objectives we talked about at the beginning of the year. It's like, well, things have changed. So you can flex then with a changes work is moving at a faster pace than it ever has. And so going back to what I was saying about people putting in their one-to-ones to achieve it by the end of the year, actually you go, this is to achieve by the end of the first 12 weeks. And then you sit down with your manager, or if you are a manager, you sit down with your team and go, right, what have we achieved? What have we maybe gone off track a little bit? And then we set another objective for the next 12 weeks. So, like I said, it motivates people more. Also, I find it makes you very much more conscious of time. I know and been over the years where I've even done posts on it, where I'll know how many days there are left in the year or in the next 12 weeks. I'm always talking about it. So you're much more conscious of time and how many days you've got. And also, just to mention, personally, I also do a vision board after I've done my 12-week plan as well. And so, going back to what we were saying about maybe I hadn't, like you said, planted the seeds for doing van life and things like that. Looking at my vision board now, and because we've parked getting a house in France for now, part of the Putnam Parks doing van life, but we've parked getting the house in France for now. We're not saying it's never, just not right now. We want to spend a bit more time in Scotland. And when I realised when I look at my vision board, I'd actually put a picture on there. It's not me and Mark, but it's a man and a woman staring at like a mountain. And I'd cut out the word Scotland and put that on there. And there's a picture of a van on there. And also, what I'm doing now massively relates to what I put on my vision board. So I think that's a really good point as well with goals is, especially if you are a visual person, to have a vision board can work really well to kind of, manifest it in a way. Well, it's not magic though. Like you don't stick pretty pictures on a board and then hide it under your bed or in your wardrobe and it just, miraculously those things happen. The thing is, scientifically, your brain you're doing little mini visualizations each day and your brain starts to think that's the life that you're already living.
Mm-hmm.
It almost like it can't tell the difference whether you're looking at that in 3D or on a picture that you've stuck down. So you start to create behaviors and patterns that make you achieve those things that are on your board. I just wanted to caveat that because I know it's important.
Not the January just gone, but the January before when we were on the retreat in the Peak District. So Emma ran us a vision board workshop and I made mine then. Well chuffed with it. In fact, that one I saw up on my wall. Right, so it's in front of me on my desk constantly. But I never actually look at it and go, oh, I'm going to have a look at my vision board. But I think because it's there, actually, when I got to December last year, I looked at it and I'd achieved loads of stuff on it without trying. And I think it just something unconscious that was constantly going on there. So, I've always thought the woo-woo-ness, but I'm going to have that and just think, actually, because my brain unconsciously knew it was there.
Yeah.
I think it was discreetly altering my behaviour somehow. I wasn't madly, relentlessly chasing after goals.
No.
I wasn't even thinking about
Not like sitting for half an hour every day and just staring at it.
It
Because your
works.
peripheral vision picks it up, whether you realise it or not.
Primes your brain, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think it does affect how you behave and the action that you take, and aligns you more towards those things.
Yeah.
Even without being hard on the action plan,
Yeah.
having a vision board, I do think, just naturally helps you move towards those things.
It
And
does.
I don't think-
No, and there is science behind it, I know, that shows that those visualization techniques work. And so, so I think a vision board works well. I think also just something talking about goal setting that I do that actually I got from you years ago. And we did this when we got together in December, didn't we? Where we looked at our goals and we said, right, what's a good, better, and best?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what I was going to say.
Oh gosh, what golden nuggets am I don't even know about myself. It's lasting me all the time.
But yeah, that good, better, and best, I think works. And I share that with a lot of people because it's going, right, if I achieve this, that would be good. And I'd be happy with that. And let's say it's a financial figure. It's, for me, my good is that's going to help me to pay my bills and maybe a little bit extra. Your better is your middle ground. So it'd be even better if I got, I might be able to get a few extra things or nice holidays or whatever. And then your best is almost like your big, hairy, audacious goal, which is like, might feel a little bit ambitious, but you go, do you know what? I'm going to put that number down. I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah, a little bit more like, what is it? Shoot for the moon and you land in the stars.
Yes, exactly. Because that tends to happen to me. I tend to hit on the middle one.
Yeah.
So, I overachieve the good one, hit on the middle one. A few times I've maybe gone towards that best, but I just find that works quite nicely having that.
Yeah, it lifts your aspiration up, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
So we've talked about loads of things there then. So let's just kind of recap them and summarise them. So for people who are kind of intrigued by this and think, oh, I wouldn't mind giving this a go, what are the key concepts then for people to do 12-week year?
Okay, so I would say start off by printing off a calendar so you can see the 12 weeks. So let's say now you want to do this for April, May, June, print off, and you can just go online or go into Canva and print off, a calendar for April, May, June. Get yourself some highlighter pens. Have a think about some things that you definitely want to put in your diary, but also just backtrack. Make sure you put the things that are already booked in so you can see then realistically how many days you've got left. So you block those days out. If you've got if you're looking at it from a work point of view, if you've got holidays booked in, block those days out. And then look at some of the things you definitely want to put in your diary. So if it is a wellbeing day, social media planning day,
it might be like, team meeting type.
Yeah.
If you're leading a team, if you want a monthly team meeting or that stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. And so certain things that you want to put in. So you can see how many days you've realistically got. And then what you want to be doing is thinking, right, what are my goals? Don't overcommit to too many goals. I always say no more than 3.
Right, 3.
It's magic. Yeah. So no more than 3 goals, and then work out realistically where do I, set yourself a measure of success. So what does that need to look like by the end? Begin with the end in mind. Then by the end of the 12 weeks, what does success need to look like? So if it is a monetary goal, then what does that need to look like? And then break it down. If it's a goal of selling X amount of something, what does that need to look like? And then break it down. If it's sometimes if it's behavioural, it can be quite hard to put a measure of success on it. So what I tend to do is use like a scale of 1 to 10. So if it's like, I want to feel more confident, well, how confident do you feel now at a 10? 6, 8, maybe by the end of the 12 weeks, I want to up that to 8. So then you think, okay, what kind of things do I need to do to get to an 8? Or what actions do I need to take to get to that monetary figure or sell X amount of whatever? And then you break down. So it might be, I work with a healthcare company quite a lot, and I do recruitment workshops for them. So we talk about how many people you need to recruit in the next 12 weeks. So let's say you want to recruit, I'm going to go easy for numbers because maths is not my forte. Let's say you want to recruit 30 people in the next 12 weeks. You break it down by then, okay, the first 4 weeks, I want to recruit 10 people and then 10 people after that. So then you can bring it down as granular as you want to, really. So if you're then looking at 4 weeks, you go, what do I need to do in the next 4 weeks to recruit those 10 people? The people that I train, it's about, rather than sitting at your desk and praying so people are going to apply for your vacancies, going out in the community, looking at the calendar and looking at what kind of things I can go out and do. It might be in those first 4 weeks, you're planning more on getting the vacancies out there, building awareness around it, and you might up it. So it is how you work it out, but bring it down to most granular detail until that next action feels manageable. Because again, that reduces overwhelm then. So it's just breaking it down as much as possible, and then plotting those out. Still on your paper calendar, but then the key thing is then if you're using something like Outlook, put them into your Outlook calendar. If it's a project that you're working on, you might want to use things like tasks by a planner on Microsoft Teams. Trello, having a Trello board is good. Or, even with a good old fashioned spreadsheet for some people. It's whatever
You've got to find what
works for you.
Yeah, we like big pieces of flip chart post-its.
Yeah, coloured pens, flip chart,
post-its. We had an A3 sketch pad each, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we mapped it all out with with post-it notes, and that works for me. I'd rather do it like that.
So it might look a bit messy when you're doing that, but that's when it starts to all come together and make it nice and
you
clear.
write your how meeting at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you don't write on the piece of paper, you write on post-it notes. So I think that's the process, isn't it? And it's a rinse and repeat process. It's the idea though that you take that point in time at the very beginning, and then obviously in the 13th week as you go along to plan. Obviously then you've done the do, then you do the review and the plan for the next piece. And on you go again and track that progress.
Absolutely. I think it's important to mention accountability as well.
That's why we do it together, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Because I was only thinking this morning, like things have been more on my mind that we talked about on that day, because I know we were having this day again today.
You're going to ask me about it.
Yeah. It's easier to kind of, if it's just in your own mind, to just not do it. And so in a work capacity, obviously as a manager, that's where you create that accountability with the team members. And mini check-ins are important as well, whether it's within yourself or, as a manager, it might not be a full-on sit-down review, but whether it's weekly. I mean, I then do a mini version, which I've not mentioned, which is 14 FFF.
Oh, she has not told me about this bit.
I thought I had.
This sounds like a bra size.
No, I always say it. This is not a bra size. So 40 FFF stands for 40 minutes Future Focused Friday. For fuck's sake. So Future Focused Friday. So basically what it means is 40 minutes of non-negotiable time blocked out in your diary every Friday, or whatever day works for you, but 40 FFM or 40 FFT doesn't have the same ring to it. But on a Friday, it's 40 minutes just blocked out. Put your phone away, laptop away, just you, notepad and pen, a brew if you want one, and to just sit and think about the week that's just gone and then week following. Some questions you might ask yourself for looking back part is, what went well this week? So WWW.
So way up, she's coming out with all the TLAs now. TLAs.
So what went well this week? You might want to, if you're on a learning journey from a leadership perspective, you might want to ask yourself, what have I learned this week? How much time have I spent with my team? And then EBI. Yeah. So it would have been even better if, and then you finish the sentence.
There you go. You do nothing else.
Yeah.
Out the back of this podcast. 40 FFFs. Yeah. WWWs. And EBIs.
Even better if, So then it would have been even better if that. And so they're just some good questions for looking back. Yeah. The looking forward part, even if you just answer these two questions, is what do I want to do more of next week? And common sense tells you, because you're probably not sat around twiddling your thumbs, is the next question is, what do I need to do less of? Yeah. To fit the more of in. And it just helps you. It's just that any great leader will take time out in their diary to reflect. But I always ask people this when I'm training them: do you put block time out in your diary for reflection? Not very many people say yes. And so it's just 40 minutes. Now, if you're thinking even 40 minutes is unrealistic, because we talked about the busy badge, what I say is just start off by doing 20 minutes and put it in your diary every week, but challenge yourself to only cancel 2 of those a month if you absolutely need to, because 20 minutes twice a month will be more than most people are doing now.
Yeah. Even if you only do 10 minutes a week.
Yeah, it's more than most people do.
Yeah.
No, I've even had directors saying to me, "Oh, I feel like I was skiving if I did that."
Oh, no. Same.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I'm working with a big Premier League football club at the minute, and they are the busiest organisation I've ever seen in my life. Trying to get them to take some time for reflection feels like I'm asking them to fly to the moon. You know, it seems like a ridiculous request.
Yeah.
But the desire's there.
Yeah.
And they want to, but their brain at the moment is just like, I just do not see how that is ever going to be possible.
Hard, isn't it?
So my challenge is by the time, I mean, they're on the programme with me for a year. So by the time they get to the end of the year, and we're our set of leaders that at least do some element of weekly reflection. But there you go.
So yeah, people just do it. And do you know what? A lot of people think you're taking 40 minutes out of my diary. I promise you, if you do this properly, you really do the thinking behind it, you will be more productive the following week, and actually you'll be doing things that are aligned to your objectives and your goals and your 12-week plan if you sit down and take that time to just breathe and reflect.
I was thinking, actually, you know, when you were talking about, it was after EBIs, about the questions about next week.
Oh yeah,
more
or less.
Yeah, it's like, actually, what have I been faffing about with this week? Yeah, where have I wasted and burnt time?
Procrastinating.
Yeah, or allowed other people to sideline me, you know, and distract me. Because the answer will be, of course you did. And therefore, that's the time that you get back by just simply having a bit of reflection time. You've got to speculate to accumulate. And it's looking past the end of your snout.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be able to see that.
And as a leader, I mean, I often talk about John Adair's action-centered leadership, your 3 circles and a Venn diagram.
Team, task, individual.
Yeah. So
TTI.
So so task at the top, that circle, most people tell me they spend too much time in that circle from a leadership point of view. Then you've got building and maintaining the team, and then developing the individual, and they all overlap. So another question you could think about using that model is, how much time have I spent in each of these circles this week? And do I need to jump into some of those others? And more often than not, the answer is probably going to be, I spent too much time in the task circle. I need to spend more time with either the team or the individuals.
And sometimes I think another useful way of looking at it is that individual box can also mean you.
Absolutely.
It's probably not in with the theory, but don't just be focused on the team and the individuals in the team all the time. You're an individual in that team too.
Like that. Yeah, absolutely. And then probably one last thing that I've not mentioned, talking about being realistic with whether it's 40 minutes or 20 minutes. You know, me and Jodie put a full strategy day in every 12 weeks. Now, when you're working, that might be unrealistic for you to say, I'm taking a full day out. So what I would say to be realistic is just in that 13th week, so this week, even if you put 1 hour a day in the diary, Monday to Friday, that's 5 hours you've spent on strategy. So it might be your first couple of hours, your Monday, Tuesday, it might be spending time on the reviewing and the looking back. And then the last 3 hours on the starting to look forward and plan for the next 12 weeks. So that's really important, because some people go, strategy day, I can't fit a strategy day in. So even if it's just 5 hours, but also there, your 13th week is the great week when to plan your one-to-ones in with your team, do those check-ins. So I just like to mention that.
So there you go. If you like the idea of a 12-week year, there's a book. You can get the book.
Yeah.
But obviously, Emma shared loads about the process and top tips how to make it work there. So yeah, you know, if you want to get a bit more bang for your buck, I guess is probably, I don't like being more productive. I think since the whole burnout episode, I've fallen out of love with being a productivity junkie. I'm like,
achieving more of the things that matter, that are actually going to get you to where you want to be, is what's important.
So on that note, we'll let you have a think about that one. Let us know if you've got any questions. We'd love to know your success stories as well, wouldn't we?
You would, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
drop us a
Share
comment,
your
drop us a
goals.
question. Yeah, share your goals.
Yeah.
And if you need any help. So yeah, that's it from us this episode. We will see you again next time in episode 8.
Yeah, and as always,
Yeah.
like, share, subscribe, follow, and any relevant links will be below in the description as well. But
Including buy us on fee.
absolutely, yes. Yeah, I'm running low actually. Thanks,
See you
everyone.
next time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Lipstick, Laughs and Leadership.
If something in today's conversation resonated, take a moment to sit with it, or share this episode with someone who might need to hear it too.
You can subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and that really helps more women find these conversations.
We're glad you spent this time with us, and we hope you're leaving feeling a little more grounded, a little more confident, and a little less alone.
So we'll meet you back on the sofa next time.